Good morning everyone and welcome to this week's garden update. I'm feeling completely back to my normal self. Thank you so much for all your lovely messages last week. I'm just raring to go and looking forward to showing you around. So as well as going on a garden wander, I'm going to share with you my spaghetti squash recipe. But before we get into that, let's go and say hi to the chucks. We've been snacking on some watermelon inside and I just grabbed this piece to give to the girls. Here, Autumn, do you want some? They really enjoy eating this and it's just like us, the way it keeps us hydrated. It does the same for chickens too. I'll just leave that down there. They'll all be over in a second. During summertime when it's a lot cheaper to buy, I usually buy a couple of big slices of it for us and for the girls. Look at Snowflake. She's in amongst the nasturtiums making a dive for it. She's always a little bit on edge around the other chickens. I think she's the bottom of the pack, so she's getting last pickings. I harvested this spaghetti squash during the week. It's the first one off the plant. This is actually the one that was dangling off the tree and I really had to pull it down before it fell on someone's head. I was very fortunate to be given these seeds by my gardening friend quite some time ago now. I think I sowed them, it must have been in mid-spring, and they're all ready to pick off the plant now. Let's head into the kitchen where I'm going to share with you my baked spaghetti squash recipe. The first thing you need to do is slice it in half. You do actually need quite a sharp knife for this because they have quite a thick skin. But so far so good. Let me see if I can turn it around and cut the opposite way too. There we go. Okay, so let's take a look inside. It's not a perfect slice through the middle. It's a little bit uneven, but that's fine. And the other thing I want to mention is, you see all those seeds inside? I can save them now for next year. I might show you that process too if I have time. If not, I can show you how I save squash seeds maybe in next week's garden update. I'll put these to one side for the moment. So the next step to do is to spray the inside of the spaghetti squash with some canola oil. So I'm just going to give it a light spraying. And then I want to season with some salt and pepper. I'm now going to place these in the oven at 180 degrees Celsius for about 30 to 40 minutes. I will check on them. That's just the oven beeping, it's ready to go. After it bakes, I'm going to mix in some of this agar, bacon, and top it off with some cheese. I've just taken the spaghetti squash out of the oven. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to get a fork and break it up a bit. You can see there how it breaks up into these little strips resembling spaghetti. I'm just going to do the entire section here. And once that's done, I'm going to put the fillings on. I'm going to mix some of this agar into the spaghetti squash. So what's in here is some roasted peppers and eggplants. So what I'll do is I'll just put a couple of heaped spoons in there and give it a good mix. Now I'm going to top with some of the bacon and the cheese. I just put them back in the oven under the grill for about 10 minutes. You can see there now that they're lovely and golden on top. All that cheese has melted. I cannot wait to try this. Okay, let's dive in. Oh, yum. Look at that, it really does look like spaghetti. Oh, that is delicious. Oh, there's so much flavour in there. It's a really hearty dish. And the thing is, you don't actually need to put any toppings on it at all. You can just bake it up, keep it nice and simple. Serve it with your meat and 2 veg. It's a perfect little dish. Even just by itself, I'm going to have that now for lunch, or you could just have it as a side dish along with maybe a salad and maybe some corn on the cob too. Since the last garden update, we had quite a bad frost here, and one of the casualties was this Australian native bush basil. Do you remember I bought this a few months ago? I really wanted to give it a try because it attracts a lot of native bees and it gets quite large once established. You can see there it reaches up to 1 metre in height by 1 metre in width, and it's not quite looking like that yet. It's still very small, and despite the frost getting to the top foliage, you can see here underneath it's still nice and green. It's still alive. What I may do with this is cut it back to the ground. You can see there's a few stems coming off it here, and put something protective over it to try and overwinter it and protect it from the cold weather which is going to come now over the next few weeks. This week I've been picking lots of limes. I know I've shared this before, but just in case you weren't aware, did you know that ripe limes are actually yellow, not green like what you buy at the shops? I find when they're ripe like this, they are much juicier and sweeter. The tree is actually over here, and there are some on it now which are also yellow, like you can see these ones here. And when they do get to this stage, they're very easy. It's very easy to take them off. Just give it a few little twists and there you go. And actually sometimes even when you just give it a little touch, not with these ones, but they tend to just drop off. That's how ready they are to leave this tree. Last week in the Sydney area, the temperatures reached a record low, the lowest in 37 years. And I'm telling you, it's very obvious here in the garden because it feels like, well, to me at least, that everything has come to a full stop. There really hasn't been an awful lot of growth here in these beds. Maybe you remember the bok choy I showed you a few weeks back. It's pretty much the same size. Here's the carrot bed. I actually spent about an hour in here during the week thinning out the seedlings, trying to give them a bit more space. So you can see here, this is where I have the mixed heirloom packs, and I'm really happy with how they're growing. They don't seem to be, there's no pests attacking them. There's no foliage being eaten. It's looking great. I'm really delighted with how it's getting on. I did notice that in this raised bed I have a few jonquils flowering, a beautiful spring flowering bulb that always flowers here in winter. I think I just popped them in there a while back when I didn't have room anywhere else to put them. But you know what, I'm so delighted now to be able to see a nice flower here in an otherwise very bare looking raised garden bed area, and these smell absolutely incredible too. We're coming to the end of these cucamelon harvests. There's a few more bowls or baskets of these left on the plants, and then that will be it until next summer. So I just want to leave this here for the moment because I want to show you this, which is actually some cucamelon tubers. Usually what I do with my plants is I cut them back to the ground and leave these underneath, mulching them well with some straw or sugarcane mulch, protecting them from the frost until spring arrives, and then I start to see fresh shoots. But with this one during the week, I actually dug the whole thing up. You can treat these the same way that you would treat dahlia tubers, so you can put them into containers and store them into a cool dark place like in your shed until you bring them out again in spring. Here's an update of my container garden. I do have to say that even though I just mentioned that the garden's come to a full stop, these containers seem to be continuing to grow, and that's because they are growing here in a little microclimate right up against the house where the bricks warm up during the day, providing this little area a nice bit of warmth even at night time. And you can kind of tell because look how much growth has gone on with these. So these are the turnips. I have a couple of tubs of turnips, the radishes at the back. I thinned out these ones too. I think they're the Tokyo turnips. I'll put that up on the screen. I may have got that name wrong. And if you check out over here, Look at this. These are all those little Paris carrots that I popped in this pot I showed you about 2 weeks ago, and they've germinated. I do have a few patches here and there that are empty. I may sprinkle some more seeds, and it does need a bit of a water as well. It's looking a bit drier here in this section, but I'm pretty happy with it. So far, so good. I've just grabbed these cucamelons. I'm going to bring them inside and see if I can make a nice dish with them. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you again next Friday.